All right, let's get started. Welcome everybody to our City Planning Commission night. We actually have a public hearing that we have to take care of first of all, so let's do that. In attendance, we have Mayor Brian Smith and Commissioners Eric Olson, Justin Behrens, and Dana Gusky. So we are, and we have a quorum. So we'll go into the public notice. This is for a conditional use permit in the city of Waupaca. So, J-Rod, I'll turn it over to you. Ta-da. Here's Johnny.
Needs an IT ticket.
Well, we may not be able to do this one because we had all kinds of messed up, I guess, in the department. So this is the wrong conditional use permit posting.
I thought you did that on
Huh. Well, I do not believe. So this one's already passed. So there's not much.
This has not got anything to do with
So the
Lakeman.
nope. The conditional use should have been for the rezone.
It is.
But
You mean the public hearing should have been?
the public hearing should have been for the rezone.
For the Lakeman Field.
Yep.
So that's what I have posted.
That's what you have.
Well, that's what the agenda is.
Yeah, but you could probably talk about it. Oh, well, I don't know. Did which conditional use permit got posted?
So
So the public notice also states zoning change.
So maybe we just added the wrong one to the site. Would you mind giving me just 30 seconds for me to run upstairs and see which one we posted?
Yeah, we can.
We start,
27,
We've seen you run. You better take a minute.
25,
I was gonna say 30 seconds. Wow.
Well, actually, maybe I can do it from here.
23,
Jesus, Dana.
Jeez, man, under pressure, passing it on.
BS. I'm just,
Yeah, you're on it.
All right, let me just look in our file folder here to see affidavit of publication.
Can you send it to
this looks like.
Aaron so he can? Yeah, actually, Aaron
It says
has
it's
it.
published January 18th and January 25th.
It was so we just we had the wrong one pulled up, put on the website. So that's
So
all.
where did you get it from?
Actually, this was here, so you must have pulled it up.
Yeah, so I pulled it up. So we
Oh. So this is the right one now.
this is the right one. Yeah, so we are looking at a. Sorry.
Can you?
On my screen, I can.
I don't have it on.
Jared, maybe we should do it like a public hearing. We can look back at it, and if we have to redo it, we can redo it, but I believe it was noticed appropriately.
It's on the website.
Okay, so everything's right? All right, so we're just going to
Back
continue.
Lakefield.
My apologies.
So if I go out to the website, I'll find it.
Yeah.
I just did that.
Okay, so this, Mayor, to be clear, this is a public hearing notice for the rezoning, City of Waupaca, Lakeman Field, Michigan
Now I
Street,
messed it up.
Look at it.
ordinance number 02204.
I brought a whole packet.
Oh,
That's what I did. Okay.
Yes. Okay, so it's for the rezoning. That's what the
All
public
right.
hearing notice is
So
for.
you're leading this.
Okay. I'm
I hope-
just verifying. Nope, we're good. So the public hearing notice is for the rezoning of Lakeman Field. So if you would remember going back, we did do some lot line adjustments in Lakeman Field, and that was to account for the change from Habercorn Field to the Department of Public Works facility, as well as expanding Lakeman Field to ensure that they have ample parking space to accommodate their needs. So with that, part of the process was to bring Lakeman Field into a resource conservation and parks district so that it's properly zoned for the parks. This would allow them to better master plan the field, not have to worry about the same zoning regulations as, say, an R1 or the PUL district, which is really more meant for government facilities, garages, things like that, city halls, libraries, schools, and less about parks. So Really, this rezoning is just looking to put Lakeman Field into the correct parks zoning district. Sorry for the initial confusion.
Okay, so at this time then, we would take testimony in favor of the rezoning of this property. If you'd like to give comments in favor, please step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, limit your time at the podium to 3 minutes or less. Any public input in favor of? Hearing none, seeing nobody, I would then ask for people that are not in favor of the rezone. Is there anybody that's not in favor of this rezoning? Hearing none, I'll declare this hearing closed at 5:19 p.m. We will go into the regular City Planning Commission meeting. I'll call the regular City Planning Commission meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. We have Commissioners Olson, Mayor Brian Smith, Justin Ferens, and Dana Gusky, and we do have a quorum tonight. We are missing 2, and we have 1 vacant seat also, so. You have an agenda in front of you. We would need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Eric, second by Dana, that we approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Approval of Planning Commission minutes from our, way back in December. Remember, we didn't have a January meeting. So we need to approve these December 6 minutes that we had, December 6, 2023. So just need a motion to approve these minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dana, second by Eric, that we approve the minutes from our last meeting, December 6, 2023. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. We're down to action items. And we just had a public hearing on this. It's a rezoning, City of Waupaca, Lakeman Field on Michigan Street, and this will be an ordinance 02-2024. J-Rod, you're up.
Thank you very much, Mayor. As mentioned, this is the same topic that we discussed in the public hearing. It starts on page 6 of your packets. On page, I believe, 11 of your packets, there's a certified survey map that was recently passed that shows the adjustment of the lot line. So as such, we are looking to make the new Lakeman Field parcel, the now expanded parcel, into the Resource Conservation and Parks District so that it is properly zoned for the park that it is. This allows flexibility in master planning within the park, since typically, especially a baseball field, is a lot different than many other single-family structures, governmental structures, as it might have concession stands, bathrooms, grandstands, things like that. So by zoning it to the park, that zoning district allows the flexibility needed to operate it as a park. Happy to take any questions if there are any.
Has the square footage changed at all
Yes.
upon this request?
Square footage of the Lakeman Field parcel?
Correct.
So with the lot line adjustment that was already passed, it did. So it is. I do not know what it increased from, but it is now 4.448 acres,
As opposed to,
as opposed to, I believe, my guess is around probably 3.8 acres.
and is this property line butting up against city property?
Yes, the Department of Public Works. So that is why it was adjusted. So we worked with both the Department of Public Works Director and Park and Recreation Director to ensure the new lot line provided Lakeman Field enough room to accomplish what they needed to accomplish, additional parking, field lighting, tree planting, while still maintained plenty of room for any future additions or planned additions to the Department of Public Works facility. Yep. So,
we're just requesting,
so this is for the rezone
Area.
now. Yep,
we're rezoning
Lakeman Field.
just to increase it to be more efficient. to
So
the
we're
public.
rezoning it to parks, so it's properly zoned. So right now it's zoned PUL, which is public utilities and land use. So that would be things like the sewer plant, the Department of Public Works facility, the county highway garage, things like that.
So examples of other parks we have are like Swan Park.
Swan Park, the one just south of Swan Park, starts with a B.
Brainerd's.
Brainerd's.
That'd be Brainer's Bridge.
Yep. Bower Sox,
Yep.
South Park. Those would all, and
Riverside.
some of them are not properly zoned, but we are working through a process to ensure they are properly zoned. So this is just one of the ones on the list that we're looking to rezone to parks to make sure it is properly zoned as a park.
Good.
What kind of setbacks you looking at then?
For the park specifically. So in our parks district, it is more of a master planning. So hypothetically for Lakeman Field, Laura is going to bring forward items to the council. It will be, a master plan, site plan. They will bring it, or she will bring it forward to the council. The council will approve that, and that's what's going to be followed. So there's no specified setbacks in our parks district, just to allow for that flexibility of things like bleachers, things like the bathrooms, things like the concession stand, or if you go to other parks, maybe things like gazebos, pavilions, things like that. So there are no specified setbacks in our parks district. It's more of a master planning process.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so this is really just kind of a cleanup.
It is a cleanup. Yep. It was zone PUL, both Department of Public Works parcel and Lakeman Field, just in anticipation that we are going to be building a garage there.
And when we do this, we need to do it in the form of an ordinance.
Yes. Any zoning changes to our official zoning map are in the form of an ordinance.
So you're recommending that we send this ordinance for approval to City Council?
Yes, you are correct.
And this one does not need a public hearing?
So this one does need a public hearing, and that's what we just had. Yep.
It
Oh,
does-
just
it
that
doesn't
one.
need another one.
But doesn't
Yeah, it
need
does not
one
need another one.
At
Nope.
the council level?
Nope. Just here at City Plan Commission.
Okay. All right, you guys heard that? Anybody want to make a motion?
Yes, I will move that we recommend to council the approval of this rezoning.
Second.
Motion by Eric, second by Justin, that we approve the rezoning of the city of Waupaca Lakeman Field on Michigan Street with an ordinance that we're going to recommend to council, ordinance number 02-2024. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Next up, another ordinance that Jarrett's recommending. This is 03-2024, amendment to Chapter 17.123, Parent 3, R3 multifamily residential district pertaining to R30 lot line. Okay, let's hear it.
Thank you very much, Mayor. This one starts on page 15 of your packets. There is a red line on page 17 that'll actually show you what is changing. So really the gist of this is a cleanup. Moving back, we did have an ordinance change in which we adjusted our permitted, conditional, and prohibited land use list. Within that list, we previously were not allowing what we called zero lot line structures, or zero lot line single-family homes. And that's essentially where special district where you would have essentially two single-family homes that share a common wall, common firewall, and so they'd have a 0-foot setback on that common wall. So when we did that, and we did that because right now, there are instances where that could have occurred in R3, and R3 is more of our higher density district, so we should be encouraging that in the R3. So we went through, we changed the ordinance for that. Did not, look too deep into the other sections. If there were any specific, portions of a code that would also need to accompany that, just because it was a larger change. And there was indeed a section, which you will see here in this ordinance in the red, that does give some leeway for common wall developments, in which the lot size and lot width is decreased. So currently, if you wanted to do a 0 lot line structure within the R3 district, you would need to follow the current minimum area standards and width, which I believe is 66 feet and 5,000 square feet. With this exception for the 0 lot line, we would be reducing the width from 66 to 33 and from 5,000 to 3,600. This exact language is already in our R2 district language. So really, we're just taking that language from R2 and transferring it to the R3 to accommodate the new permitted land use that we added to R3. Staff recommends this as, again, in R3. R3 is supposed to be a higher density district. And by doing this, we are encouraging that higher density 0 lot line common wall developments.
So this was already in R2? Now you're adding it to R3?
So this is already in R2, and we're just adding it to R3. You summed it up.
Next time
I'll let you present
I'll do
next
the
time,
report
because
for you.
that was much more elegant than mine.
I think it's I think it only makes sense, but I do have a question. Why do you think it was not in R3 prior to this? Would there be a reason for that?
I can't speak to that. There are quite a few things I question our old zoning code, and I'm not quite sure what the line of thinking was. Now, I can say my guess is this was always, when we were going through the initial update, this was always in future phases of the zoning code updates. We just never got to it. So we're now getting to it, just by we're taking it step by step instead of larger portions.
Gotcha.
In your estimation, how would this compare to surrounding municipalities?
This addition, or
This change?
I have not researched other municipalities in this specific topic. So I would assume it is eerily similar, because the intent of the 0 lot line is you're taking two structures that would typically be in the middle of two parcels, and you're making it so they have a common wall. So by doing that, and if you still required 66 feet of road width, you'd have very large lots, and it really wouldn't accomplish the purpose of a higher density.
But we're
zoning district.
decreasing the size of lots, right?
Yep, so we're decreasing it so you can increase density.
And the only way that we could do that in the past was through condo lots?
So you could do that specifically through a condo lot. I believe, I can't speak to if the 0 lot line is new to the zoning code. It very well might have been added during that initial rewrite. But yes, the primary way of decreasing the density of those homes would be to do a condominium lot, which I will say, we are dealing with a few right now that are a little bit of a headache. So by doing this, you're taking out the condo part of it, and you're allowing somebody to share a wall but still have their own parcel.
So this footnote C
Yep.
is in there underneath accessory structures lot less than 1 acre in size. Where does it cover if the lot is bigger than 1 acre in size? Or is that not allowed? I'm looking at page
yeah.
17.
One of one?
The underneath minimum setbacks, the bottom left block says accessory structures.
Letter C.
Structure lot less than 1 acre in size, and then to the right of that you have between structures in that footnote C, which is the add in red.
Is a good catch. I can review that, but I'm 100% sure that C should just be removed, as this footnote C would just entail to the whole parcel. It would not involve just accessory structures.
Okay.
So I will need to, I can certainly verify that and bring it back for a future reading. Otherwise, that C should just be eliminated, I'm guessing that was just left over from there.
So
Are you
are
sure
we
about that?
going to recommend it without this footnote?
So you would, that is up to you. I guess my recommendation then would change to recommending approval to the city council with the change of eliminating the footnote C behind between structures.
Okay,
All right, I'll make that
all right.
change.
Eric is making the motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. So we're again recommending this ordinance to city council, minus, under 3, we're eliminating the footnote C. Any further discussion?
After between structures.
After between structures, yeah. Okay. Well, the C down below would be,
The C down below is the footnote we're supposed to be adding, so that would stay.
okay.
That is the true footnote we're trying to
Just the
add.
letter C is,
Yep, there's a Scrivenger's error.
okay. Just the letter C is being eliminated.
Been waiting to use that for a couple of years, haven't you?
Long time.
That is a good catch,
I was, yeah.
Justin. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against, motion carried. C, ordinance number 04-2024, amendment to chapter 17.305, zero lot line or common wall, single-family attached development. Okay, you're up.
And this is another one accompanying that zero lot line common wall development. This can be found on page 18 of your packets, a red line on page 19. So we do already have some creation requirements, maintenance requirements, agreements requirements, miscellaneous documentation requirements for zero lot lines. And this whole thing was brought up as we actually had a condo association that is looking to get out of the condo association. There's really nobody managing it. There was a lot of mismanagement, and now it's a real headache for those residents. So we're trying to assist them out of that situation per guidance through the state of Wisconsin plating division. So looking to clean this up so that it is more utilizable. So currently, a lot of things were missing, such as the addition of a plat or the usage of a plat to do this process. So there are going to be instances where you do use a certified survey map, but if it is over a certain, I believe it's 5 units, so if you create more than 5 parcels, it is required through the state that you use a subdivision plat. So that was not mentioned in here, so that's one of the additions. Another addition was per guidance through the state, again, the next line down, where it says, this plat or map shall show the location of the dwellings or buildable area. So a lot of times, the plat or even a condo plat will show the exact building footprint. And sometimes it's ideal to be able to move that around. So if the plat or the certified survey map shows the buildable area instead, it gives the development a little more leeway to place that building, further in or closer to the road as necessary. The next one, number 2, this was just some cleanup of language. When we read it, it didn't quite read as what it should be, or it could be interpreted not as efficiently. So we changed some wording in there to make that a little more understandable for staff's purposes as well as just anyone else reading the language. Again, a lot of that was just cleanup, addition of the word subdivision plat, as that could be an avenue for creating this. We also cleaned up the language in the last sentence of number 2 to say the exterior building material shall be of comparable aesthetic quality on all sides of the common wall structure. Again, the way it read before was just a little bit confusing. It also required a lot of paperwork and upkeep, as we were requiring in writing that these 2 owners shall agree, and then that we had to keep those records. So it takes a little bit off of our plate while still keeping that requirement that You don't have one side of this common wall structure that's pink and another that's polka dot. You know, trying to keep it uniform. You know, people are, you know, if one side wants a darker green and the other side wants a lighter brown, as long as they're complementing each other, it doesn't look out of place. That is something they certainly could agree on.
And who determines that? You?
It's usually the developer.
Wouldn't you have to approve that, right?
Approve so like if you're saying if they wanted to change their color of their siding, we'd look to approve that, is what you're asking? Like if
They're gonna build this and let's say it was a green and a blue, and you thought it was hideous together, do you have that power to shoot them down?
Yes, to a point. If they argued it, it would probably be something that would be brought up at council.
Okay.
I mean, usually a developer wants the housing to look good, so they're not going to pick non-complementary colors. This is going to be more probably into play if one side of there's somebody living in these two structures now, with the common wall, and the one wants to replace their siding. We are going to reach out to the other side, and we are going to make sure that they are cohesive, or they're on board with the color that's being chosen, things like that. So
Okay.
it's going to be more on the residing element.
Okay.
More if they're built, the developer's probably going to pick the same color, if I'm going to be honest. They're not going to side at two different colors.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
What's the matter with green and blue? Okay,
number 3,
Polka dots.
just added a if applicable section, because they may not add covenants or maintenance agreements. We added that just to make sure if it's not required, we're not going to make them require it. And then the miscellaneous documentation, an inspection of the City of Waupaca building inspector or designee, verifying each unit meets the required building code standards outlined in Chapter 14 of the City of Waupaca Code of Ordinances and is served by separate sanitary, sewer, and water laterals is required. So we have that in there as per utility needs. They need to have separate sanitary, sewer, and water laterals, separate meters. And then also per the building code, common wall developments have special requirements for firewalls. And that's state code that we have to follow. So we wanted something in there that just says we need to make sure that we inspect that we have verified that this is completed as it should be. Yeah, and that would be it for the changes in here. Again, we're just trying to clean it up, make it more readable, understandable, and followable for city staff. Happy to take any questions or clarify.
go back to number 3 for us then. And
Yes.
It's my understanding that the city, county, whoever, doesn't get involved in covenants and maintenance agreements. So why would we require them to provide those to city planning and council?
That is a great question. That is something that was already in the agreement. And so we figured that is something that we can remain in there, even if we don't govern them. We could certainly take a look at them and pass them on. If there's way out of line or something that we would totally disagree with, we could go back to the developer and we could say, hey, this is really not the intent or something that we're looking for, in our city. Can we revise this? So it just give an opportunity to revise these unique developments, or have them revised or reviewed by City Plan Commission and the council. In terms of maintenance agreements, that would just be kind of part of the development. So, I mean, if they did maintenance agreements, that would be an agreement between a structure showing that, well, both sides are responsible 50-50 for the roof, 50-50 for the siding, things like that. So I think that would also just be, it'd be an approval, but it'd also be for the knowledge of the Plan Commission and council members how that development is working.
I mean, I like the idea of reviewing them because, they might have something wrong that's not following city code and so on, but I'm having a little bit of an issue with the approval of a covenant. I mean, why would the city get involved in approving covenants in certain areas? And maybe there's something I'm missing.
Sure, and I mean, we've never truly dealt with one. So I guess it'd be my recommendation, probably one of those things, if that was what was originally in there, we leave it in there for now. And as we go through one, if it was truly unnecessary to review that, I think that's the only way we're going to know if we are missing something. So I've never gone through that review process either, so I can't give you an accurate answer.
Okay.
But something else, I mean, we certainly could remove and then just try to remember to review it and come up with that answer.
After last night's meeting, I'm kind of thinking to myself, if we get involved in covenants, and just for example, we have covenants where I live, and one of the covenants is that the garbage cans can't be outside, except for pickup. Well, 99% of the people in the neighborhood leave them by their side door. Do we want to get involved in that?
And I think that's one of those
You know
things
what I
too, is you could, if that was in the next one that we see, that's something you could give that perspective and maybe the developer changes it then. Whereas if there was really no review or approval process, they weren't required to bring it to us, they would probably just approve it as is and not have that input. So not something we govern, but something would probably be good to provide
I live in
input
a
on.
neighborhood where the covenants is you can't have cars parked outside.
Ours too, but cars
But-
park out all the time.
They're everywhere. Who enforces that?
Well, your association would
Yeah.
enforce that,
correct.
right? You got to have Jeff Hollenbacher in your neighborhood, then you'll get it enforced.
He was.
Yeah, I know he was. He was in mine too.
You can't say that out loud.
I just did. He's gone. He's in Florida. Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess this is just one of those things where we'll see how it goes. This would be more for new projects versus projects that are already in existence.
Correct. And right now we do not have any zero lot line developments because again, my assumption is we previously did not allow them. And that's why everybody went to condos. But now after allowing them, we're potentially looking at our first one that we would be handling. So,
Sounds good.
and it's very well possible, again, if applicable, they might not bring forward any covenants. It might just be the general maintenance agreement, between property owners or a whole maintenance agreement for the development kind of deal. So,
The area where we're talking about, those are city roads though, right? The maintenance would not include.
so maintenance of structures, maintenance of parcels. So they do have a common wall. So there might be some common elements. They might have a fence that goes down the center line of the property. So there could be that. The maintenance agreement might be, you need to make sure you mow your side. You need to make sure you mow your side. Somebody might be in charge of the whole sidewalk in front of it. They might split it, but that would be all probably outlined in the maintenance agreement.
Okay. All right.
No, and good comment. I mean, to clarify, the city do not enforce the covenants. So whatever covenants, if any, if they pass them, would be on their association.
So this approval, would it be done through an action item?
Of the covenant?
So
Right.
more than likely, when they bring forward the plat for review and approval, the covenants and maintenance agreements would come with it.
So it'd be, like, the approval is basically with like a development plan review style.
Correct. Yep. And then there's a final plat a preliminary plat and a final plat process. So the plan commission and council would see it twice.
A little hesitant on this too.
Yeah, yeah.
I know I remember an instance, the residents try to pull the city in to help enforce their covenants. Something to do with like the parking cars or the wood piles, and it took a lot of staff time to get to the bottom of it. So I wouldn't want to see that to happen again.
And if it would be desired by the plan commission and, respectively desired by the council, we could move forward with this with removing covenants from that section and just having it for maintenance agreements.
I
mean, we as a city have statutes on what you can and can't do with your property, correct?
Correct.
right.
So I don't think we should be involved with any specific covenants for any neighborhood. I mean,
Sure.
as long as they meet our codes, we should be okay.
This is just one example. I'm not saying it's normal, but just I've had one personal example in dealing with this, and it was completely separate. Approvals through the municipality and through,
For the covenants, you mean?
right, like the association, 100% separate. Nothing was required cross ways. So, for what it's worth. So that would fall in line with kind of what Dana just said.
Are you, so you're sort of falling in line with what I'm saying?
100, yes.
This is two separate things.
In my one experience.
I mean, we as a city require one thing. Whatever a neighborhood requires, I mean, you live in that neighborhood, that's your neighborhood. But as long as you meet our codes and what we require for our streets and upkeep of your property, what your neighborhood requires is a completely separate thing. And I think it should be separate.
That's been my.
Sure. So you guys are thinking more along the lines of just removing the covenants, just having it be the maintenance agreements.
Well,
Just get rid of the approval part.
yeah.
City shouldn't have any.
Leave 3 there, just get rid of approval.
Okay, get rid of approval?
Yeah.
Sure.
And we'll just review.
Okay.
Because it's good to know those things
Yeah, right.
administratively going
Absolutely.
into
Sure.
issues.
100% agreed.
Remove approval.
Put that in a motion.
Well, we can approve or recommend this ordinance to council with that change. How we can do that. Unless you want to make a motion to change this. And then once we change it, then we make a motion to recommend to council. However you want to do it. We can do it all in one motion.
Just kind of did that on the last one, right?
Yep.
Right.
Recommended with the change.
Yep. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Oh, you got it right there.
I'm getting a head start.
Yeah, there you go. All right, any other discussion on that? We would be looking for a motion to approve with that one change. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move to make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Dana, second by Eric, that we recommend to council ordinance number 04-2024. I'm on the right one, aren't I? Yeah, amendment to, am I on the right one? See?
Yep.
Amendment to chapter 17.3050 lot line or common wall, single-family attachment development, with that change to only review and not approval. C. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. D, 05-2024, amendment to chapter 12.27, providing for the regulation of mobile food establishments. Where did you get this term? That's changed now.
What did we change it to?
That's not
Trucks?
what we called it before, didn't we? Food trucks.
Food trucks?
It's called
Talk
food
trucks.
So this is our official language within the code.
Oh.
And I'm going to blame Barb because it's in section 12 and that's her section. So
Got to speak two languages.
Yeah.
Um,
Tough.
So this one is on food trucks. It is on page 20 of your packets. There is going to be a red line on page 24 of your packets. So this has come forward to you guys a few different times. Each time we've taken it back, we've taken any comments we have received, adjusted those, and then brought forward back this finalized copy. I won't go through all of the changes, but if you guys have specific questions, really the general purpose of this was to still regulate food trucks, ensure that we are requiring them to have a license. We are keeping them away from already established brick and mortar restaurants, without their permission, things like that. So we're still trying to ensure we're protecting our brick and mortars, but we're also making just the application process and some of the regulations that are not enforceable or were just very, very detailed and didn't need to be a little easier on the food trucks. So some changes in some changes in the location restrictions. So it did say just commercially zoned. So now, being proposed, if, say, the Waupaca Foundry wanted to bring in a food truck on a special day and put it in their parking lot for their workers for lunch, they could do so. Since it's not commercially, it's industrial. These still would not be allowed. You could not park this in a residentially zoned area. So you could not pull this up to your house and, have food trucks just serving out of your driveway. Let's see, what are some of the other ones? Some of the cleanup, so we had in there provide a trash receptacle of at least 32 gallons. It's pretty hard to enforce. As long as they have an appropriate trash receptacle, we shouldn't care if it's 48, 32, 24. If it's 24 and they need to change it twice while serving, that's okay.
Are you down to number 6 yet, or am I jumping the gun?
I'm not down to number
I'll wait.
6. Is that the license required?
Yeah. Well, no, that's the approval by the fire department.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Not quite there, but I will get there.
Okay.
Just a sec. We had designated cleanup the area within a half block. Again, pretty hard to enforce. As long as you're cleaning up after themselves, that's all we really should care about. Now to number 6. Ensure all mobile units and equipment adhere to the NFPA code requirements. And then we recommend to contact the fire department to set up an inspection if desired. There is a section, and I will find it here, up on page, I guess the first page of this ordinance under number 2. And it says, all food vendors and mobile units are subject to random inspections by the appropriate city designees at any time while serving in the city to ensure compliance with NFPA, food hazard mitigation, and other safety requirements. So that would be if the fire department felt as though there was a food truck that may not meet those fire code requirements, they could stop by. They could check the food truck. If needed, they could educate them on what is needed, what is required, and why. And then, if there's any way they can help them out. Otherwise, if it is a serious safety concern, they may be forced to not serve that day. So, again, we're really putting it on the vendors to ensure that they are meeting those requirements. And then leaving it up to us to spot check and ensure at the appropriate times. Mayor, did you have any specific questions about that one?
Your full-time chief.
I'm struggling with if desired. I mean, if desired doesn't mean it's required.
So the inspection, so contact the Waupaca Fire Department to set up a time for your mobile food unit to be inspected if desired. So if they would like to ensure that it is up to code before serving for fire code requirements, they certainly could do that. Otherwise, we could randomly spot check them. So,
They could, I get it. Now I get it. So let's say they're parked
yep,
and firemen or you or somebody sees that they're in violation, they could be asked to leave.
correct.
Where if they do it ahead of time, then they have no worry.
It is putting the responsibility on them to ensure that they are properly, they have all their ducks in a row before serving.
Well, they can't even park without the approval of the park and rec director, right?
Nope, so that's in parks only. So there's a
Oh,
section.
I'm sorry.
Yep, so,
We're not talking about out-of-park places.
No,
I mean, we
so-
are talking about.
so this could be anywhere. I mean, they're subject to random inspections if they park in the county courthouse parking lot, if they park in the park, if they park at the foundry, if they park at H.H. Hinder. They're all subject to random inspections, and they are all subject to ensure that they have met the proper fire code requirements.
Understood.
Yep. And then if, to your point, if they are serving in a park, they would need authorization from the Park and Recreation Director. And that's to ensure there's not 6 other birthday parties going on, and now this food truck is, invading space or, prohibiting something else that's happening there. So that is why that's requirements in there. If they're not parking in a park, or if they don't need the Park and Rec Director's approval, but either way, they also need the license from the city. Moving down, some vendors shall not.
Sorry, Jared.
Oh, go ahead.
Right after number 6, where this is just me, I think I would make sure that you highlight or boldface a vendor shall not. Because I'm looking down here and I'm thinking block or restrict pedestrian public right of way, and I'm thinking that that's okay. Then I got to go back up to B and say shall not.
Would it help if we capsed that? I know we can't
Maybe.
bold it, but we could
Yeah.
caps it.
I think
That'd
so.
be helpful.
I'm just, for somebody reading it real quick, like me that tries to just peruse.
Sure. I will note that if that is desired by, within the motion, we certainly can do that. Really wouldn't change the ordinance. It would just
No.
be capitalizing letters.
No.
So
Maybe if you're gonna do it on B, right, the vendor shall not, maybe do it on A with the vendor shall, and maybe emphasize shall, so that it's the same, right, that you're pointing out the shall and the shall nots.
Yep. I think that's a good idea.
gotcha.
I do like that you're separating them. I think that's cool.
Perfect. Running through that section again, just cleaning up some things that like audio and video equipment. There are trucks that will use TVs to display their menu, so we just kind of made sure that they weren't going to be playing, MTV Cribs, while they're serving food, but it's meant for their menu. I looked at you, Justin. I know you watched
I
that.
don't know why you picked that show.
I'm trying to relate to the audience, Justin.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Again, just some cleanup in language. Use extension cords was eliminated. There are times that even for city events, we are allowing them to hook up to electrical, like for during our movies, to not have a generator running during the movie. So there are instances where that's not, that should be okay. Again, the not serving within 150 feet of both licensed restaurants without their approval or school districts or schools without their approval has remained. I know there were a few comments from different business owners that they did not want to see that go away, and I did assure them that that was remaining. The next section was vended in the same location for more than 10 hours in a day. It was 5. We did have the situation even at the movie, one of our movies, that the vendor wanted to come for a dinner rush to make it worth his time, so that the city wouldn't have to pay an additional fee if they didn't get the orders that they needed to get to make it worth their time. And we had to tell them, unfortunately, no, you need to come. You can only come for that 5-hour stint. It was only going to be like 5.5 extra, 6 extra. But we just want to expand that for the instances in which I know, like the county courthouse wanted to bring in a food truck for lunch and dinner, to serve everybody, to try to catch everybody and show that, hey, we're bringing in a vendor, something specialty for you guys. Go take it, have a different food cuisine for lunch or dinner. So we selected
do
10.
Huber.
What's that?
They should do Huber with their
Uber?
jail. Let them out. Let the jailbirds out. Feed you.
As not a part of this ordinance, you can recommend that as a separate item if you'd like. But yeah, just continuing down, and we get to some of the big ones. So the application, this was a 4-page application. It was pretty convoluted. We went through, I worked with the clerk, with Park and Rec Director, and we narrowed it down to the important information. A lot of reformatting came with this. Again, it's going to ease us in transitioning this to an online permit, as well as ease the application process in general, which was a major complaint. So good cleanup there. And then as you just continue going down, the insurance, again, you should have the proper insurance. We are stating this in here. We don't need to sit there and keep track of that kind of thing. As long as it's in our code, they should be carrying the insurance. We've done our due diligence. We will not be liable for anything that happens. So going down, this is one thing that I wanted to make sure I got your guys' opinion. So there was a licensing fee, and the licensing fee, again, was $100 plus $12 for every background check, and then $25 for a fire inspection. It made the process really convoluted for staff, and really in the end wasn't worth the efforts and money that we were getting from it. So we did switch that, and we did go back and forth whether that should just be a flat rate of, we're just kind of going in increments of 25, but 25, 50, 75, or 100. We landed on 50 as we felt that was the appropriate amount that would recoup our staff's time and plus some for this process. So I want to get your guys' feeling. Do you guys think that is an appropriate amount? Do you think that should be adjusted higher or lower? I know talking with our clerk, she was on board with that amount. Talking with our Park and Rec Director, she was more on board with the 25, but I went up to the 50 again just for the purpose of ensuring that we have our cost of staff time covered. So, not sure how you guys feel, if you guys would like to have a conversation on that or initial thoughts.
Okay.
How does that compare to others? Like Point, Appleton?
There are some communities that charge nothing, and there are others that charge 100, so it's pretty mid-level. There's some that charge nothing and have no application process. There's others that have a very stringent application process. So it's kind of all over the board. It's just really how accommodating you want to be to food trucks. And I know the argument is they're not a brick and mortar, but there's a lot of times that it can introduce people in the community to new businesses, to places that they really would have never gone. If you have a food truck, this might not be feasible due to proximity with restaurants, but if you have a food truck on North Main, that might bring people that normally would have never went down North Main to come on North Main, see the businesses, et cetera. So there's that benefit. There's, the indirect benefit of if you got a new restaurant that you get to go to, kind of re-excites you for the other restaurants that you haven't been to in a while. So if you frequent Little Fat Gretchen's and then kind of stop because, hey, it's I've had the same thing a few times in a week now. I'm kind of good. But now you have something different, you might be more apt to go back there. So there's an indirect benefit. And then also, possibly minimal, but there's the opportunity that if that business does well, they might transcribe their food truck to a brick and mortar in your city. So there's always that possibility of gaining a new business if it's doing well. So those are the benefits I see of it. Again, $50, they should be able to make that up in their profits pretty
Pieces of art.
decently, even if it was a slow day, and still make it worth their time to come.
I'm good with it, but maybe put the word required after the word of 50, right? Because you're saying at the time of the application, a non-refundable fee of 50.
Is required. Okay.
Maybe put is required, just to make it sound a little better.
Yeah.
But I'm good with the 50. I mean, you're knocking it in half, right?
Yep.
And that's I mean, that's good for a whole year, right?
Yep. January 1st through December 31st. So if they did apply in June, they would only have half the year. It would be the same amount. Continuing on from that, investigation inspections. Again, I just want to re-note in that investigation inspection section specifically that they are subject to random inspections, just to make sure that it is clearly stated, and they do not feel as though, they were not informed of that possibility. If we go in, they're not compliant, and we ask them to no longer serve for that day. But the rest didn't change. So happy to take any questions, comments, conversation. Otherwise, I have noted the shall and shall not, and then the licensing fee of $50 is required.
So this NFPA that you've mentioned a couple times throughout this, is this an organization or association that has their own people that do random checks also, or is it just?
So it's the National Fire Protection Code. So that is what, or National Fire Protection Association codes and standards. So it's really just what our fire department follows. So
Okay, so-
it's usually the local fire departments that will enforce these.
Okay, and I guess, the fire department is separate from the city, but I guess it's part of the city too, I guess, okay. So it could be a fire district representative, or it could be somebody from your office.
Yes, if we would prefer, it would be somebody professionally trained in NFPA, which we do have fire department staff on our city staff. But we also, if they weren't available, we could reach out to the volunteer fire department and get a representative from there.
Justin and I were just talking about that too. This will be easier for people to deal with the fire department too, once we have a full-time fire chief in place.
Great.
It will go along with that pretty well. Good. Yeah, I think I'm okay with it. I am okay with it, I think, as far as the changes that were made. You've noted those changes, Jarrett?
Yes, I have those changes noted, and they will be reflected, again, if it's in the motion and desired by the Plan Commission, I will certainly reflect those in the copy that is brought to council.
Okay, I'll recommend to council ordinance 05-2024 with changes.
Second.
Motion by the mayor, second by Eric, that we approve 05-2024. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against, say no. Motion carried. Another ordinance. Jeez, J-Rod, on the roll. 06-2024, amendment to chapter 17.306, mobile towers. Does this have to do anything with the 100 and, how many feet is it?
10.
110-foot tower we just put up?
Not specifically. This is more of a cleanup of our section. So there were some sections in here. So a lot of this is mandated actually by the state. We can't be more strict than them. We can't, it is what it is. But there was just a section in here that was, a few sections here that were incorrectly stated. So the ordinance does start on page 28 of your packets. The red line, which is going to show you the exact changes, does start on page 33 of your packets. So within the application process of these mobile towers, there are three separate classifications. Going to be siting and construction of any new tower. There's going to be a class 1 relocation, and then there's going to be a class 1 co-location and a class 2 co-location. The new is obviously a new tower. Class 1 is going to be a co-location, so the addition of equipment, things like that, that's going to require substantial changes to the overall site or the tower itself structurally. Class 2 is going to be something, addition of equipment that does not alter the tower at all. It's just the placing of an antenna on the top or something simple like that. So within these sections, the first change on the first page of this ordinance would be adding the language, additional application approvals may be required, as there are times electrical permits are required or site plan permits are required. Or they are required. So we just want to make sure that there's a statement in there that does state that. And then we wanted to clarify that these application requirements stated below are for specifically a conditional use, which gives us the capability of approving or denying based on these state set requirements. So just really clarifying that it's for the conditional use. On the next section for class 1 co-location, it was really the same addition. Additional permit application and approvals may be required. And then you'll notice in section 2, it does state conditional use already. So we're just keeping it uniform. And then down at the bottom, this was the big change. So class 2 co-location, the city only has 45 days to to process the application, send it to the proper channels, and get an approval, which if you do require a conditional use process, without special meetings, we would not be able to actually get that through. So in the sake of, again, this class 2 co-location is really for no structural changes, nothing really visible to the tower. You're just adding some equipment essentially. Really only a site plan is going to be required, no conditional use. So that is just reflecting in there, again, to align with the 45-day requirement that the state has set for us. And I will note, within that 45 days, if a decision is not made, it is an automatic approval. So we as a city want to make sure that we are reviewing that, putting forward any possible recommendations or changes, and the best way to do that is through the site plan process. Happy to take any question. And I guess you will see there are a few sections where there was a formatting error before my time. That there was a letter B that was blank, so we're just cleaning that up with this ordinance to make sure B isn't blank.
I got a question. So the fee for the permit for a new construction is $3,000. Class 1 collection or co-location is $3,000. The class 2 co-location is a $500. What's the deal, Jared? With that being different?
Those are state standards.
Those are okay.
Yep, those are set by the state
That was my second
as
question.
the maximum.
Well, and 2 is just adding to the total. Adding leases.
Yeah, two is just adding equipment, so it's
Right.
it's pretty minor work.
Yeah.
Whereas 1 and new, they're going to be modifying the tower. They're going to be adding a tower, things like that. So it's pretty substantial.
Right. But you answered my second follow-up question already. Is that's basically dictated by state statutes. So
Yes.
those are the numbers. We can't deviate from that.
Yes, we could make it lower. Those are the maximums.
Make it $499.99 so they feel terrible.
We're way lower than the state. All right, any other questions? Again, this is an ordinance form, so we're recommending to council.
So moved.
Motion by Justin,
Second.
second by Dana, that we recommend to council ordinance number 06-2024, amendment to chapter 17.306, mobile towers. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Discussion items, short-term rentals.
Yeah, so short-term rentals, a lot has changed with short-term rentals in the state of Wisconsin. There is similar mobile towers. There are certain requirements that you either have to prohibit them or permit them. And if you permit them, you can obviously have conditions or standards with them, but you can't make them. You're not going to make them really a conditional use. You're not going to do things like that. So, with short-term rentals, with us being close to the chain of lakes, with us having a lot of recreation around us, I do think it is a good thing for us to have as an option. So I would never recommend to prohibit them. But I would agree with not only our prior zoning administrator's recommendation, but also our current attorney's recommendation that we should have some standards in place, or a set of standards that we can add to if necessary.
So we have nothing right now? is what
We have
you're saying?
nothing right now. Yep. So the red line that you're going to actually see on page 37 for this, the red line is actually changing. So we had brought this forward. We had brought it back, took in some comments, talked with actually an older person who is a short-term rental owner, got their opinions, got their feedback, talked with the county, and the changes that you see in red are actually changes from the original that you have seen already. So I didn't want to cloud it by adding a bunch of red lines for you, but these are things that were changed or adjusted after all of those conversations. I think one of the big discussion items came up on 2C, where it states time limit. So short-term rental shall not be rented out for more than 200 days during any 365-day period. So this is intended to set a limit and ensure that people aren't just buying up our housing stock or possible affordable housing stock, and making just an obscene profit, buying another one, and suddenly we have no place for actual workers, people, residents of Waupaca to live. It's all visitors. So it's really trying to strike that balance that, yes, we want these, but if you're not going to make them profitable within, the 200 days, you need full 365, or you're going to go above and beyond. We don't want that. We want to save our housing stock. So our attorney recommended 180. That is the bare minimum per state standards that you can dictate. Some of the other individuals I was talking to were more looking at like 225 for the days. So as staff, I put in 200 as the compromise between the attorney and what I'm hearing from the community. Of course, that can certainly change with your guys' recommendation to 225 to 250. You could take it out all together. But the attorney recommendation was 180. So that is why I left it in there. All the rest is pretty standard.
So
Know,
so in that time limit, under number 2, is that clear to everybody? I mean, you're talking about one renter cannot be there more than 30 days, consecutive days, right? And everybody understands that.
And that's per anything over 30 days, that is now a long-term rental, a midterm rental. So that's going to be your rentals that are 6 months, 3 months, a year. They're no longer short-term rentals in which we are not going to collect room tax on them.
Well, and the state doesn't collect sales tax on it either if it's more than 30 days.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So different standards.
More than 30 days for the same person. So if you check in July 1st, you have to be out of there by the end of the month, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
But if you had 2 renters in there for a total of 32 days, that's fine?
Yep. So different occupants. Yep. So if the same occupant was in this unit for 6 months,
It says that.
I,
It says 30 consecutive days. It doesn't say like if more than one, it's like a rotation, like the rotating part of a different renter is, I think, missing in that paragraph.
yeah, I read it as you rented for 30 days, you got to have a day off.
Right.
You can't
Get your
rent
cleaning
it.
staff in there.
Yeah. And then you rent it for 30 more days. So I think it needs to be, in my mind, it needs to be worded so that it says,
clarify that so it's
One tenant.
per tenant.
yeah.
Gotcha. Yep.
So, I can tell you that I'm aware of situations in which there's short-term rentals in the city, in which they are truly short-term rentals, usually 3 days, 2 days, 3 days. And then someone who may want to be here for visiting family stays here for 30, 45 days. But it's a one-time-a-year thing. So how does that work exactly? If it's short-term rental for the entire year, but let's say the month of January, someone's here to enjoy the snow, it exceeded that 30 days, what does that mean?
That's a very great question. Per just standard definitions, that is what the state has put out. I don't have a great answer for you. That's really gray. My quick response is if it's one time per year, it's probably not going to be something we're going to hit too hard on. We're probably going to be dealing with other priorities within the city. If it's continually happening, it's going to be more of an issue. I guess.
So really, this 30-day thing is there because if it's past 30 days, you can't collect room tax, or the state can't collect sales tax.
Yes,
That's the only reason?
my guess.
You don't have any ability to kick them out if it's 30 days.
Not really. My guess is the way that you would do it is they would leave for a day, and then they would come back for the remaining 15 days.
What if you just use short-term rentals? What if you use this as like a definition instead of they can't be in there for 30 days? You know what I mean? Units being rented for more than 30 consecutive days shall not be considered short-term rentals. So like from a regular, you described it as like a midterm or a long-term rental.
So per the Wisconsin 66.06151DE, short-term rentals means a residential dwelling that is offered for rent for a fee and for fewer than 30 consecutive days. So that is why we have it in there.
Can't you just reference that code?
I certainly could.
Well, it needs to be clear though, too, right? I mean, so we need to, whatever, even if you reference that code, we want to make sure that we understand what it means.
Yeah,
It's pretty simple to know what it means when you know that there's taxes involved in it or not involved in it. I mean, we have, here's a perfect example of it. The Chain of Lakes, which is not in the city, but it's a perfect example. They have short-term rentals from June 1st through September 30th, but then they rent it out for 8 months or 6 months during the winter. So we know they can do both. They're allowed to do that both. It's just that.
So then
it's
they
under a
probably
different-
just wouldn't be collecting certain property taxes at that point. I mean,
Well,
it might get convoluted at that.
And it'd be different requirements probably too.
Yeah, yeah.
Our new rental code would fall under the long-term one that we're gonna pass in a month here.
I'm pretty bruised, so I'm gonna stay out of that one.
So then what does the 200 days mean?
So 200 days, so a short-term rental total cannot be rented out for more than 200 days,
Period.
period.
So 165 days out of the year, it's either gotta be vacant or rented more than 30 days.
Yes.
So then if we do have a complaint from a neighbor that says, hey, this has
That
been
seems-
rented out 250 days, how do we, would we,
We would go forward and per the section, which states. Da, 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 da.
I can see it. Yeah.
Property owner and owner's designated agent, contact information shall be readily approved. Short-term rentals.
Again.
Well, and you know what else, Jared, too, as long as you're thinking about it, 200 days doesn't even make sense because it's not divisible by 30. You know what I mean? You should make it 180 days or 210 days or something.
Sure, and
240.
divisible by 30 because you're saying that's the maximum time
Right.
you can
By
rent.
month? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
So I'd say the only thing with that is if you rent it out for 3 days, somebody rents it out for 5. No matter what number you pick, it's no longer going to be divisible properly. So we could do it divisible by 30, but it may not.
I think another question is what are we trying to accomplish with that limit? You mentioned we're trying to make sure that housing is retained for people that live here, and it doesn't. We don't become a community of all short-term rentals.
And this probably does not do that, though.
And what right? So right, does that do, that's the question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure it does.
And I know we've talked about this before. I'm thinking out loud here as we're having the conversation.
Sure. And I guess that would lead to more of an attorney question, because this was their recommendation to put in.
And you said the minimum was 180, is that
180.
right? I also know, I think this was sent to some people that had interest in it already. I think this was emailed to maybe some local realtors at one point a couple weeks ago. I'm just curious, was there any feedback from anyone on this?
Yes, as mentioned from the council members, there were other people that called about short-term rentals, yes. It was not directly emailed out to people, but there are people that offered input that do own short-term rentals. So,
Did they have any? Yeah, okay. And
I mean,
you mentioned
again,
the
talk,
220 was suggested.
225 was suggested to increase that amount. Again, the attorney recommended 180, so, as staff, I was just trying to compromise.
So 180 is the state statute
It's the state minimum.
minimum. Okay.
Yep.
So you could really say 365?
Yep, I mean, you could place no limit on it, and it could just be open.
I'm just going to throw this out there. If that's the goal, to make sure we retain housing for permanent residents, you could also issue short-term rental licenses for units and then limit or cap the amount of licenses you have within a community.
I don't think you can do that per state statute.
Okay.
That's maybe, well, I don't think.
I mean, that would have to be an attorney question.
I get what you're saying, but that might be a little controversial.
Seems like
We
a
cut
good
it off
idea.
right before you come in. Yeah.
I've seen it done that way. Let's
Oh.
just put it that way.
Yeah, that would definitely be an attorney question, because I believe from what I was reading, you can't do that. 'Cause again, you can permit them, you can't limit them.
Yep. In all
You can limit
fairness,
in days,
I've not
but-
seen it done that way in Wisconsin, so that
Sure.
very well may be true.
Yeah. But if that would be again, this is just discussion. So if there are questions that I can reach back out to the attorney about, I can have him provide insights on why he recommended something. I can certainly do that.
Yeah, I just throw it out there.
You know, the short-term rental is a hot commodity, like housing is a hot commodity too. So, are we even concerned that people are doing it on a short-term basis? What do we care?
Is it to the level of concern? Yeah. To where that? Yeah, I don't know. Good question.
It's going to be one of those things that it may never come up. But again, if it does come up, we would have no tool to do anything about it.
Good.
So that was the thought. That was the kind of the premise discussion with the attorney.
My
Again-
guess is this is gonna be an interesting discussion at council.
Sure.
Yeah.
And one that the public will be very interested
Right,
Sure.
right.
in.
So, I mean, are we okay with recommending this to council?
So
I mean,
no-
obviously, they can make any changes they want to.
So this is just a discussion. I do not
Oh,
have
it's
this.
just
I do
discussion.
not have this in ordinance format. Yeah.
Well, I would personally, and I don't know about the rest of you, I don't have a problem with that 200 days being 365. But it doesn't meet,
I concur.
yeah.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to the attorney for his exact. Because again, reaching out to the expert we hire, usually what you follow. So I just want to get his comments.
Well, you were
I'm
the
going to
expert.
provide those to you, and then I'll let you guys make the final decision.
Well, I mean, we are trying to promote silent sports in the winter as well as our tourism in the summer. So
Yeah, there's a lot that. Oh
boy,
You got an unsmiling no, didn't you plug it in?
touch anything. That was weird. It just popped up and said you have a problem with your device.
You're back.
We're done. Yeah, it's coming back.
Ransomware.
Yeah, there-
So what I
Josh
think
is
I'm
watching us.
what I think I'm going to do. This is going to come back as another discussion, no ordinance. I'm going to get that information, and then we can make a final decision on what to bring back to you guys in ordinance format after that.
Okay.
Yeah, we just went from 200 to 360.
should be in.
A lot of conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
That's good, yeah.
I like it.
You gotta re-record, Aaron. You have to turn the recording back on, probably.
Yeah, we gotta start over.
All right.
New
Remember everything everybody said.
Yeah, please no.
Who made the motions? Well, the Buckster has all
We
that
have the
stuff.
VHS tape somewhere. You know, like on Spaceballs, they go find the VHS tape.
They're still in the back room back
Rewind
there.
it.
Okay, anything else on the short term? All right, UTV, ATV, and if you ever get to use your snowmobile in Waupaca County again,
Next year.
discussion.
So, Mayor, I actually might pass this one on to you if that's okay.
Yeah,
I know this background. This stemmed from a discussion in our development review team about ATVs and UTVs on Main Street specifically. So, Mayor, I'll maybe pass it on to you, and you can provide any comments you might have. I know this is one of the things you had requested to have on just as a discussion to start with, to see kind of what the other commissioners thought, and yeah,
Okay.
let you have it.
so what's currently, we passed a few years ago, the ability to use ATVs and UTVs in the city of Waupaca, but we did limit certain areas in the city where they could not go in, and that's mainly the downtown area. And also, any place in the city where the speed limit is 35 or higher, ATVs and UTVs cannot be driven on those roads unless they are being used for like snow plowing or maintenance type purposes and stuff like that. Then they're exempt by state. I mean, I've done a little bit of research on this. We can bring in some experts on this thing too. At the very least, I would recommend that we I like the idea of limiting it where it's 35 miles an hour or more. I think you keep that in there. And the only place that really affects us is on West Fulton Street, towards my house, of course.
Yeah.
But, I mean, anywhere else, I don't think we have any other else in town where it's 35 or more.
Harrison?
County E by the mobile home park? Is that?
It doesn't turn 55. Oh, yeah, no, does it go 25 to 35 or does it go 25?
It goes 25 to 35 in that bend area.
Sure.
How about Royalton and then just south on 22 for just a tiny stretch?
Oh, yeah.
In North Harrison? I mean, that's a Highway 49, so I don't know.
49.
I don't, because that's part of Highway 49, I don't know if that's a different deal. It goes from 25 to 45
It goes up to 45.
to the
Once
city
you get-
limit, then
You
it
get
goes
to
to
the high
55.
bridge there, yeah.
So they would be limited there then.
That's state road. You can't drive on it.
That's what I was wondering. It's also Highway 49, so.
You
Yeah, I
can
don't-
cross it. You can't use the lane.
Any state or US highways, you cannot.
Correct.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So
Yeah,
that's exempt anyway.
County highways are a different story. County highways, you can, you're allowed, if you put something in place, city ordinance, because the town of Waupaca did this, where they're allowing you to drive on county highways, and even county highways that have speed limits of more than 35 miles or more, you can drive on. So in town of Waupaca, you can drive anywhere you want to. There is no state or US, well. Yeah, is there any? I don't think there is any state highways in town of Waupaca. But my point is that people are already, we enacted this, 5 years ago, Eric, or
Yeah,
something
that
like
sounds
that?
right.
We haven't had any abuse whatsoever. We very seldom see ATVs, UTVs in town, but we do see them, and people have them. I see them at Gusmer Enterprises. And it's probably at the Foundry too. There's like 5 or 6 people that park in their parking lot and drive them to work and stuff like that. I mean, I don't see an issue with it. And I think it's a cleanup for the police department too, where I know it was their idea not to do it on Main Street, but I think it would be, I think they're okay with the change now.
I believe when we mentioned it to him, he said he would be open to making that change. I do not know about the 35-mile-an-hour part, but I think the Main Street part.
Yeah.
We would, of course, if anything was brought forward, we would check with
We're just basically talking about Main Street. And so the ATVs and UTVs are already approved, except on Main Street and the surrounding areas. So at the very least, I'm recommending that we open it up to any of those, into that area. They do have to have, they have to be roadworthy, of course. They have to have brake lights, so on.
Do they have to have blinkers?
They don't, but they have to have brake lights. They have to have blinkers like the old-fashioned way.
Bike.
Yeah. So, but most of the UTVs do have blinkers. It's the ATVs that
Right,
probably don't. And then, like I said, that's the very least. And then I question, and maybe it's up to you guys too, but I mean, I'd be okay with snowmobiles being able to go through town too, but again, I don't think it would be abused. I think it's good for, if we ever get snow, I mean, I think it's good for the community actually to be able to allow that to happen.
That would never work. He gets rid of the snow too fast. Then
I know.
There won't be any snow on the street.
You're going in all the carbides or whatever.
People will not drive on it if that's the case. And they're not, that would be your one concern is that if they did have studs,
Right.
right,
We already have a snowmobile ordinance 714.
that disallows.
It's only going to happen in a big snow event, blizzard or whatever, and the plows aren't out yet, and people with snowmobiles are just going to.
It's required to
It's
be
going to be
performed.
very rare. You're going to
Right.
see snowmobiles.
Right. The other thing we could do is, we could put this on our website that we are ATV, UTV, accessible, and even snowmobiles and stuff like that. And, it's gonna help tourism, for sure. And like I said, we've had it for 5 years, and I have not seen any abuse, and I haven't even seen that many people that really even take advantage of it.
Yeah, no more abuse than you see in any vehicle.
Right.
It's just a couple individuals with loud radios or that rev it or spin tires or whatever, but it's not horrible.
So this is just discussion too, of course, tonight, right? But, I mean, we would have to change our ordinance and,
Justin, did you see in reading that part, unless it's in one of the state codes, do we prohibit snowmobiles in the city?
we do.
Yeah, that's what it says. So,
We
I was
do,
not
because
aware
we
of that.
didn't used to. I mean, this is going back
Which section were you looking at specifically? Is that number one?
pre-Jerry. This is
4.1
pre-Eric.
or 7.14.
And then which 1, 2, 3, or 4?
3 says
Yeah.
permitting operation by improper
People aren't
persons
gonna drive on
prohibited.
bare roads. They're not. Right.
I don't know if that's
So
that's just for like people who are intoxicated or
underage.
yeah.
Oh, you have to be intoxicated to drive a snow. No, I didn't say that.
On bare roads,
On
maybe.
bare roads, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a specific section that strictly prohibits it. I guess.
No, I thought that,
We'll have to look up what all these state statutes mean.
Yeah.
350, 346, blah, blah, all the way down the road.
it could be to the point where I think ATVs and UTVs are not allowed unless you sign them. So you have to, again, this is your area, Jared, but I'm pretty sure that it's illegal to drive ATVs and UTVs on town, city roads unless you sign it. And that's why we have signs up,
Yes, for the UTVs, ATVs specifically, I know you need signs.
yeah.
I don't know about if that's true for snowmobiles.
I don't know either.
We'll have to look up the state statute, that maybe how it describes it, so.
For what it's worth, just working downtown, I mean, for the UTV, ATVs, which is going to be much more prevalent.
So you
I
just, Mayor, you just said that it's not legal to drive on the road unless there's signage saying that it's okay to drive on the road?
Yeah. And we have signs
aware of it.
at our entrances.
Yeah, let's say like UTV, ATV route or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
So the ATV, UTV ordinance, we want to strike off the exceptions to the downtown and then look to add snowmobiles.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, we have an ordinance. We just need to change it. Yep. Well, okay. Enough said there, right?
I got it.
Thank you. We're here much longer. I'm gonna miss my plane.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Okay, we're down to reports, development update.
Yeah, reports can be found on page 41. Again, as you can see, permits are steadily coming in. We've had a pretty good influx of building permits and building permit projects, thankfully to the warm winter we're having, minimal snow. Zoning permits have been slower, but that is ideal, as we've had a lot of other development interest and things we're trying to work out that are bigger projects. So it's allowed staff time to work on those and prioritize those. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any. And I'll say within this, there are reports for December, or for November, I'm sorry, since we had a meeting, for December of 2023, as well as for the whole year in 2023. That one actually starts specifically on page 44. So you can see all of the plumbing, fire protection, mechanical, new homes, et cetera, for those permits. So really gives you a full rundown of how many permits were issued, and then also the total fees that were paid, and then the total project costs of all of those. So nice visual to take a look at.
Yeah, I like that.
And then we also have one for January, which is the one I was looking at, where building permits have come in pretty steady, and then zoning permits are a little slower, but that is ideal.
Just one comment off the 2023 numbers, and for those staff members and council members, you might have saw this in the newsletter, but we're going through our bonding process right now and filling out questionnaires. We have to fill out kind of past year's valuation numbers and building permit numbers. 2023 ended up being our second highest year to date from a valuation ad standpoint. Our highest was 2021 at over 24 million, and we were in the 23 millions in 2023, which that's very important for net new construction type numbers when we get into budgeting. I think 2021 was like 2.44% net new construction, so I'd expect to be over 2. So,
And I
very
think
good.
in your report, we're already at 2.4, 2.
Yeah, two to 3 million for 2024.
Yep.
And we, if things materialize like we expect it to, should have another good year.
Yeah, there's some big projects coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, New North, 32 new houses. 120
downtown?
apartments.
Yeah, downtown,
Yeah,
right?
could be huge.
Where the church used to be, that's a big project.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And
What do those
the
guys,
WIDA
what do those guys
development.
have to, can I ask this right now? What do those guys have to say about that downtown thing? Is it coming?
Yeah, so last I heard from the owner of the property and the developer, they'd switched general contractors, which has been part of the delay, and they expect to start in spring and be done by January 1st. That's the last I'd heard.
I do have it on our agenda for tomorrow at the development review team, and most likely we're just going to note I will call them and touch base with a better timeline, try to get a better timeline.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks for that, Jared. I like those reports. It's nice to look at it. Okay, so April, we have to look at alternate days. April for sure, but let's start with April. Our meeting would have would be on Wednesday, April 3rd, but since that's an election, the day before is an election night, we have to hold city council on the 3rd. So we need to move city planning commission. So we can go to the next Wednesday, which would be the 10th. We could go to the 2nd, just flop with council. We can hold commission meetings on election nights. We just can't hold city council meetings on election night.
I know talking with staff, it was also an option. We could just move this meeting up 15 minutes to a half hour, which would allow us plenty of time before council. It would just be, staff would make sure that's a shorter as-needed agenda.
Start at 5, you're saying?
Start at 5, we could start at 4:45.
You better be faster than tonight.
We would be faster than tonight.
Depends on how yakky you're.
You haven't gotten us out of here in less than 2 hours.
It's like, who is talking?
Start at 3.
Eric asked to be done by 6:30, and so I told him that I'm going to go much later than that because he asked.
Yeah, no, he's past 6:30, you know, the poor kids are not gonna get their sermon today.
I know.
So, I'm okay if we do it the same night, tell you the truth,
Yeah,
if that
yeah.
works.
I'm good with that.
I mean,
I'm retired.
it doesn't matter to
I'll
you,
work with you boys.
So we'll stick to the 3rd then?
and just
And
do
just
it,
start earlier?
I think 4:30 though, let's do 4:30.
4:30, is that okay for I mean,
Yeah.
does 4:30 work? Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
is that okay with you,
I'll
Buck?
try to.
Yep.
have Barb send out a reminder or something.
Right,
As long as Barb lets us know, we'll be fine.
she'll call you that day.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
She called me today.
Well, she didn't call, she sent an email to me.
Oh, good. Okay, what's the skinny on May?
May, so I do have a vacation plan for May. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention now. This does not have to be decided. We're pretty far out from May. I just wanted to bring it up. I could bring this forward at the next plan commission meeting or even the next one. But it is up to you guys. If I know typically if the primary staff member is gone, you'd like to postpone or reschedule. I could certainly just fill Aaron in. We could have the meeting as scheduled. We could change it to April 24th, which is the week before, or we could change it to May 8th, which is the week later. So
What is scheduled day right now?
scheduled day is going to be
May 1st.
May
Yeah,
1st.
I'm good with the 8th.
I'm good with the.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna be fishing in Lake Erie on our scheduled day anyway, so.
I won't be here.
So I'm going to change this whole memo
Let's go
so
with the
that,
8th, yeah.
uh,
Well, put that one on me.
one of your commission members is going to be gone in May, so we're looking to
Yeah.
You
reschedule.
got, you know, he's retired, so you need his calendar.
And
Yeah, if you can just share that with me,
I'm
that'd
out
be great.
for first week for March because that's spring break and I'm stuck with the school schedule there.
Sure.
So, that's, yeah.
The
next
March
meeting.
City Planning Commission?
So hopefully we have Henry back and maybe Angela, I don't know.
I don't think Henry will be back, but
He's be gone.
a month. He said he'd be gone a month.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
you're down 2 members that are already for next month.
We'll see why Angela wasn't here.
It's, yeah, that May 8th is a council weekend. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and Eric too, we were talking today too, we're not,
So May 8th is a Wednesday.
right, but because of how that calendar, we have the council the night before, May 7th,
Yes.
so.
that March
It's kinda nice
5th
having them both
meeting,
in
we're
the
not
same
gonna.
Oh, I
take up
thought you meant
ordinance
it's on the same
either.
day.
We're gonna
Sorry.
Wait till the 19th
Okay.
to do
Good.
it.
Yeah, because I'll be gone obviously for council.
So
First week of
will,
March too.
so will Corey, he's already told me too, so. We might have quite a few that are gone for that.
Yeah, that whole school week thing.
Yep. All right,
So we would like to preliminary plan on May 8th?
yes, sir.
I got it down May 8th, 5:15.
May,
And
Gotcha.
April is just moved up same day, but to 4:30.
is there any talking right now? Is there any reason why we don't move March to March 13th?
The longer, the more head we know, the better for everyone.
Yeah. I'll be 68 by then.
Who doggy?
12.
You were thinking March 13th?
Yeah, it sounds like if we're already going to be missing probably 2 members of planning commission, and we're down one member because Evan's off, and we're gonna wait till April to fill that. So that means we're down 3, so then we gotta make sure that Angela shows up.
You
And
think
she's
Henry will still be gone that week?
pretty sure he'll be gone that first week of March.
Yeah, but I'm not talking, maybe he'd be back for the second, you think?
He will.
Possibility?
Well, he said a month, exactly a month. He'd be gone. So I don't know.
Either way, I'm good with the 13th.
Yeah,
So
I
we
think
got-
that's
Switch
good.
it.
March 13th, 5:15, April 3rd, 4:30, May 8th, 5:15.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Beautiful. Easy.
Justin, you are.
Well, yeah, because Barb gets season.
He is Justin.
She keeps it straight for all of us. So if I get it right on here, then
Well, she'll question you.
yeah.
All right, anything else for the good of the meeting? It's not quite 7, so anybody want to tell a story or?
No motion to
Go Brewers.
motion adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion, second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Against, well, I can't say against. We're adjourned at 6:54.